My name is Daljit Kaur Dilber, and this is my story for Colourful Heritage. I was born in India in 1955 at my nan's house in Jugaron. My father had come to Scotland in December '54 before I was born to start off a new life because he had a young family here. So when my father first came, he lived with his sister for a while. Later on what happened was they had like a lot of Asians in these days, they bought like a house between them and they maybe had 1 or 2 bedrooms, and there was like people that would sleep in the same bed in the morning if they were working at night, and if they were working during the day then they would sleep in that same bed at night. They had the one shared kitchen, one shared bathroom. We came in August or September 1957, so I was about a year and a half. My older sister was 2 and a half, nearly 3. We came by ship, and it took us, I think, 6 weeks to come by ship. And the strange thing is, on that same ship, my future brother-in-law and his parents were also there. And there's, I don't know if you know of a Dr. Amarjit Nijjar, but him, his older brother, his mother, father, they were all on that same ship. When Mum first came here, yes, on the journey she did say she was very homesick. My mum was only 16 when she got married, and my sister, she had my sister the following year. She had me by the time she was 19, so by the time she was 20, 21, she was leaving her homeland, her parents, everyone, to start life out in a strange country with a man that she'd only really known for like a year or so, a couple of years before he actually left to start a new life. And she did say that she brought all her bistaris and her bandy and stuff like that her mum was really worried because she was one of the youngest. She was one of 10 children. So she was the baby of a very large family, and she was very, very heartbroken, homesickness. When my dad had moved in with like guys like himself, some of them had got their wives over, so they were all in the same situation. So they all sort of became friends. Very hard, you know, like say even nowadays if a young girl gets married in a different, you know, whether Indian, Pakistani, whatever, she gets married in a different, from Scotland to England even, you know, they feel it's strange. So yes, in these days it's very strange, very daunting. And yes, many a night was spent crying. That's what she said. The first time my mum went back, nowadays 6 months, you know, you can go to India, Pakistan, or wherever it is you come from nowadays, 2 or 3 times a year. It was after 8 years that my mum went back to see her parents and her family. In the early 50s, trying to get work here was very hard. People just wouldn't entertain a young Asian person with a beard and turban. The only job he could get was like a door-to-door salesman. And he just didn't like that job because back home in India, he was in the army. My dad was actually an accountant for the Indian Army back home, and when he came here, he tried to get jobs, but he couldn't, and he was a full sardar. He had unshaven beard, he had long hair, he used to wear his turban, but to get a proper job, he had to shave and cut his hair, which he didn't like to do. When Dad sent his first photograph back home, my mum was actually staying with her parents at the time, and Mum just didn't want to look at it. And she said when I did look at it a couple of days later, she cried for days and she didn't eat. It was quite a big impact because of that was part of Sikh, it was part of religion, but to be in this country at that time, you know, there was a lot of sacrifices made, and my dad wasn't the only one. So I think because he knew there were others, and I don't know whether it made it easier for him, but it was a lot of people at that time. But I was lucky because many years later, that when I got married, my husband came from India. He was fully beard, fully turbaned, but he did not have that problem to cross. When my dad decided to grow his hair again and start his beard again, he had vowed, we didn't know this, but he had made a silent vow to himself that when it was my mum and dad's silver anniversary, he would grow his hair and his beard. After the birth of my younger brother in December 1959, Dad became a businessman. I think he got his first corner shop and then had about 4 or 5 shops after that, and eventually he ran a post office. When we first came, St George's Road, just at St George's Cross, where now we've got the flyover, the M727. It was at 142 St George's Road that we were in, so from the year of 1.5 to until I was about 8, we lived there, and then obviously the motorway came, so we had to move. I went to Garnet Bank School. Still remember climbing that big hill in the winter in the snow. Used to love going down the other side, sat down and, you know, in the snow you would just slide down. Yes, there was a big hospital, or a big, I think there was a big office or something. Every time you passed, it was like, it smelled like a hospital. I don't know whether it was the food or what it was, but the school was really, really good. I still recently, about a few years, went back to have a look at the school, try to get the younger memories of like 50 odd years ago. Then we moved to Great Western Road. It was 218 Great Western Road, and we lived above Dixon Motors. And then I went to Napiers Hall Street School until I went to Woodside School, which was on the corner of, Woodlands Road. It's now a restaurant, but then for the last 2 years of my education, it was the new Woodside, which is now the Gaelic School in Berkeley Street. Going to school, mixing with people. Yes, as we were getting older, Mom would say, pajami pakijani and all this. A lot of children, yes, they would put their pajamas on underneath their skirts, go to school, take the skirts off, hitch them up and whatever. But we sort of, I don't know what it was, but we sort of knew that, like my dad was very, because he's one of the older people in the community, community-wise, we had to make sure we knew that we didn't let the side down, so as to say. Growing up, I don't know, but I think we were one of the lucky ones. We hardly get any name calling. We hardly get any hair pulling. Whether it's because where we were, there was quite a few Asians there, but we mixed in well with the Scottish, the white Scottish people. But even like the Asians, there was a big community of us as well. Growing up, it's not so much now, but even if I talk to some people, we always talk about the good old days when we were in each other's houses. And I'm not just saying Asian houses. There was a lot of Scottish friends that we had that we used to go to their houses as well. They used to come to our house.